How you doing? This is Sean McVay with Sean's Outdoor Adventures. In this video, I'm going to show you how to sight in a compound bow. I actually did a video on this in the past, and YouTube demonetized it because I actually shot the bow in the video. Ridiculous. I'll put a link for you. But here are some drawings. Let's go over how to sight in a bow and what you need to know in order to do that. First of all, let's pretend that this is a target. Let's say you aim. Here is your sight. This is an example of a sight. Let me grab my bow here. So here's my bow. I just have my release strap around there. Here is your sight. Now in this particular sight, I have a 5-pin sight. What you typically do is, most commonly you're going to see a 3-pin or 5-pin sight, or sometimes a 1-pin. Let's take a look at what you would do for if you have multiple pins. So in this one I have 5. In this drawing, this is to represent a sight here with 3 pins, and I just had a little red marker, so I'm pretending like the fiber optic dot that you're going to see at the end is red. Okay, so what do you do to sight in your bow? Most people nowadays put the first pin out from 0 to 20 yards on an adult compound bow. If you're a younger person and you don't have very strong poundage set up on your bow, you might want to start that very first pin at 10 yards. So what you would do, depending on if you're an adult or a young person, let's say you're an adult and you're going to sight that first pin in for 20 yards. You go to 20 yards, you're going to put the top pin, which is going to be your 20-yard pin, on the bullseye, and you're going to take a shot. Let's say your arrow hits the target here. So you're low and to the left of where you were aiming. In archery, you always move the sight in the direction of arrow. So what you will do is this whole sight housing, this particular one that I have is tool free, so you can turn knobs and it'll move it around. Most of your lower or less expensive ones, you'll have like an Allen wrench. You'll have to loosen it up. You'll slide it left and right, and another screw will slide it up and down. So what you would need to do is move this whole sight housing to the left and down. And what that's actually going to cause you to do is hold your bow up higher and more to the right in the aiming process. And that's how it brings your arrow over. So now let's say you did that and you took another shot and your arrow landed up here. That means you moved it up too high, but you didn't move it to the left far enough. So now you would move it left. You'd move your sight housing, the whole thing, to the left. And in this case, you would move it up because you hit too high. So you're always moving in the direction of arrow. This arrow, you move the sight pin left and down. This one here, you moved it left and up to correct it. Let's say if you hit it over here, you would have to move your sight pin to the right and down. And that's how you sight it in the bow. Now, let's say you get to the point where you're hitting pretty much where you're aiming. You take about 5 shots and they're all hitting kind of right around in here. Now, here is an important thing. Let's talk about the next pin. So in this is, again, a 5-pin system. My first pin's 20 yards. Now it's time to sight in my 30-yard pin, the next one down. If your first pin is only 10 yards, then you're going to move back and sight your next pin in for 20. But for me, this second pin down is going to be a 30-yard shot. Now let's say I take, now remember, let me use my eraser here. Let's say that all of my 20-yard shots are hitting right in the bullseye. And what I'm about to explain to you is not an actual sight problem, but a bow tuning problem. And this is very important, especially for those of you who are new. So let's say you take a shot at 30 yards and it hits over here. Now let's pretend you took a shot at 40 yards and it hits over here. What this is indicating is that your arrow rest is not lined up properly. The best way to test to make sure your arrow rest is centered properly is take your target, pretend this is a block target or a bag target, and there's a dot at the top. Stand at 20 yards and take a shot. Now let's say your 20-yard shot goes perfect bullseye. Go back to 30 yards, and the reason, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. The reason why you put the dot the red dot at the top of the target is because you're going to be moving back, putting your 20-yard pin on the same dot, and you're going to shoot. And of course, the arrow is going to hit lower on the target because you're back at 30 yards. If your 30-yard shot comes in here, that's telling you something. Now go back to 40 yards, put your 20-yard dot on the 20-yard circle again. And if your shot comes out, you could see it's getting farther from the center line the farther back you go. This means your arrow rest is off and you have to move your arrow rest that direction. You have to move it toward the center. So I'm going to move my arrow rest to the right. You only move it in very small increments. A little bit goes a long way. So a 1/16 of an inch can really correct something like this. Once you move the arrow rest, do it again. Now let's say you do it again and now you have them hitting this way. You moved it too far. So you're going to have to move it back this way. Now you take your third round of shots. Let's say they're hitting right on the line. Now you know your bow is in tune. You won't be driving yourself crazy if you go back to shoot at 30 yards and your arrows are all hitting over here somewhere. Some of you are like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that's what was going on with me. So now you know it could have been a bow tuning issue in those longer distances. So now, let's say you're back at 30 yards, your bow is in tune, and you take a 30-yard shot. Now let's say that your arrow hits right here. That means just this pin right here, just the second pin, you're going to move that pin down. You don't move the sight housing this time. So to get your first pin, you move the whole sight housing. Now there should be an individual adjustment for that pin. For a lot of them, there's a little Allen wrench screw you have to loosen up and slide it down. This is a tool-free, so I actually just do knobs. These are a little more expensive. If you're wondering right now, this is a Trophy Ridge React Pro sight. So now with your 30-yard, it hit low. Remember, you move the pin in the direction of arrow. So you're actually going to you're going to loosen this pin and you're going to slide it down. So it's going to come out here. So it's actually going to be moved down. And you'll shoot again. Let's just erase that. Now you'll see my 30-yard and 40-yard pin are right next to each other. That's because I'm in the sighting in process. Now let's say you shoot again and it's perfect. Great. Now you go back to 40 yards and you can see that's going to be way too close. You could even move it down before you even take that shot and you want to look at this spacing right here. It's probably going to be a little bit more than that spacing. So let's put our 40-yard pin here and take a shot. And, see where that comes in. Now, hypothetical situation. Let's say you took that shot and it came in up here. What are you going to do? You're going to take that 40-yard pin and slide it back up a little bit and shoot again. Now, in this situation, you're probably going to maintain that same level of gap or even a little bit more. I'm just saying, in case that ends up being your situation, you're always going to move the pin in the direction of error. So here, my arrow is high. I'm going to move my 40-yard sight pin up until I get that 40-yard shot right in there. Now, if you're new at archery, one of the challenges you'll have is you probably don't have a well-developed form yet. So you could be kind of all over the place, partly because your form is out. If you want some help and tips for shooting a bow, I do have a playlist on my YouTube channel called Archery Tips and Bow Tuning. I encourage you to go over there and watch all those videos, and that's going to give you some insight on how to shoot the bow, shoot it accurately, shoot it with more consistency. Also going to teach you how some bow tuning tips beyond just what I talked about here. When you get into certain bows, like this particular bow I was holding here, this is a Bowtech. The way that you adjust for when the arrows are hitting to the side is you actually manipulate the cam lean. You put your rest dead center and then you adjust the cam lean to get perfect arrow flight. So it's a little bit more involved. I do have a video on that. But anyway, folks, that is how you tune in a bow. Move in the direction of error And remember this example here to try to make sure that your arrow rest is in the correct place. I hope this has helped. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, share my videos with others. I would love to hit 100,000 subscribers, and I'm on my way there. Thanks to people like you. God bless you.